Hard Hat's all about showing up to play hard, doing what it takes to win.
If you want to cement legacy, win another.
He's your third center.
You don't want to pump him up too much, but it's hard not to.
This is maybe the most I've ever agreed with you.
Oh, your microphone came off right as we started. Look at this.
Kind of like the Golden State offense, just completely off.
They came apart right before the game started. Microphones coming apart before the podcast started. Jimmy T, A. Sherrod, B. What's up, man? How you doing?
What's
Celtics
going on, man?
With a 40-point drubbing.
Yeah, it's
drubbing over the Warriors.
It was cold to get me some cupcakes, but Golden State, they served one up tonight for sure. My goodness.
Yeah. 125-85. Celtics starting off the road trip on a high note, a very high note here after a long plane ride. And Bobby was trying to get some info about the plane ride from Coach Mazzulla, and I'm just not sure. I'm not sure Joe was interested in talking about what was on the plane. Ahmed, you get that
sure
clip?
Joe was not interested in talking about.
Let's get the question up right off the bat. Let's see.
How was the flight out here for you guys? Did you kind of have any conversations, things like that?
What
just kind of addressing the recent stretch you guys have been on?
No.
That's it.
The look on Joe's face before, as Bobby was asking the question, you knew that the answer was going to be ridiculous.
Look at the eyes.
Yeah.
Look at the eyes right now. Oh, look at those. Those are what we call daggers.
Like, what are you asking me? No.
Those are some daggers at Bobby. And we have Bobby. Obviously, you guys know Bobby is there out in Golden State, and Noah is as well. We're going to hear from them in a bit, assuming Bobby survived that press conference. I think he did. I don't know if lasers shot out of Joe's eyes right into Bobby's soul after that, but, give Bobby some credit. He's kind of, he's there. He's at these games. He's in the locker rooms. He's talking to the players and coaching staff as much as he can. And he probably senses that there's at least something a little bit off here and there, right? It's not a smooth sailing night in, night out. And certainly after the Celtics Saturday night loss against the Hawks, you could certainly sense that with the way that they kind of unraveled there. And we don't need to go back too much and talk about that one, Sherrod. But, Bobby, fair question. Trying to just, poke around, see what's the energy, what's the vibe like. But Joe's not having any of that, so that's fine. The Celtics, they answered it, I guess, the only way they really needed to which is on the basketball court with a pretty dominating win. Again, an undermanned Golden State Warriors, no Draymond Green. Kuminga's not playing for them. A couple other guys that were missing, Podziemski. So, and the Warriors are not the Warriors, right? They're not the Warriors that the Celtics have seen in past years. They're kind of almost at a seems like they're approaching a bit of a crossroads right now. And TNT guys were talking about it briefly, but they've got to go one way or the other. I think if you're Golden State, what are you going to do with Curry? What are you going to do with Draymond? Are you going to try to build something to give it one more go of things, or are you going to go in another direction? So,
well, you know what, Jimmy, they remind me a lot of the last couple of years with Paul, Kevin, and Ray, where once Ray left and you have, Kevin and Paul, it's like they're good enough to get to the playoffs and they might even get out of the first round, but that's the ceiling for them. And Golden State is actually probably a step or two below that right now.
Right.
They're probably good enough to get to the playoffs, but beyond the first round, I don't think there's any team that they would see in the first round of the playoffs. And that's assuming they're not in a play-in game, which is a big assumption at this point. But if they are, there's not a team I would imagine in the playoffs that they would be favored to beat. And even in a play-in situation, I think they're looking to be the underdog. So they really have to do some soul searching and figure out where they are going to go directionally. And frankly, it's a tough call when you have great players. You had a dynasty type.
Yeah. I mean, you got marketable guy, like a Curry. You don't want to just get rid of him.
You gotta look at how do you have to go about breaking this thing up to build it back up. And I mean, I give again Danny Ainge a ton of credit. I mean, to trade 2 Hall of Famers. That's a ballsy move. No matter where they are in their life cycle as an NBA player, it's a ballsy move to do that. And I just don't think Golden State, at least up to this point, has the cojones to do that. They're going to ride this thing out until the wheels fall off. And right now, you're 2 flat tires into the damn trip, and you're just one more away from being completely stopped altogether. So we'll talk a little bit more about it, but I love the fact that the Celtics saw this wounded opponent and did not play down to the level. They absolutely came in here. They took a double-digit lead in the first quarter, and they never looked back. They never allowed Golden State to ever feel comfortable as though they might win this game. And that's what you're supposed to do against teams like this who aren't at full strength. And even at full strength, you should still beat them by double digits. But when they're missing, key players like Kuminga, and Draymond, this should at minimum be a 20, 25-point win. And it was that and then some.
Yeah. And we got a clip here actually from another good Bobby question. I think Kerr, hopefully, I don't know exactly what this full response was, but I'm assuming it was more words than what Joe Mazzulla's response was. So Ahmed, if you don't mind, let's play this pregame clip of Bobby's question to Warriors head coach Steve Kerr.
Do that a couple of times. What were some of the challenges of, all right, you have that great run, you win it, and then you got to go through that next regular season? Like, what kind of stood out about
on repeating here
for you?
Repeating.
I think just having to, we always say at the beginning of the season we're climbing Everest. It's when you start training camp, it's like you're at base camp, and the NBA season is such a long haul. And if you go to the finals, it's over 100 games, and so if you go to the finals and come back the next year, you're right back at base camp, and that's intimidating. And especially for the Celtics, they've been at it for 7-8 years, playing deep into the postseason. And it's not like this was a brand new team last year winning it all. They've had to fight through a lot of difficult seasons. So perfectly natural for them to have a little bit of an emotional hangover and maybe not be at their best game after game. I've seen that a million times in this league. So, but what I would expect is come playoff time, they'll be ready to roll. They've got guys in their primes, well-oiled machine, well coached. They know who they are. So I wouldn't worry about the Celtics. If I were one of their fans, this is normal.
Yes and no. I mean,
there you go.
It's normal for a team that has great success to kind of have those doldrums and just spurts where they don't look like themselves. But with the Celtics, there's almost a rhythm to that, Jimmy. With the Celtics, there hasn't really been a rhythm to that. I mean, like they will, they'll struggle, during the the NBA Cup, stretch where they'll lose to a team like the Atlanta Hawks without, Trae Young, and yet you will go on the road against a team that has won a ton of games in their building and beat the crap out of them by 40 points. And they've got and they still have their best player available, and so there's the Celtics. It's a little bit different because some of the things that they're doing are not easily explained away as, oh, well, it was just one of those nights. There's something that seems to be a little bit off kilter with them. And I think that they know that. And I think part of the challenge that they're having this year is figuring out exactly what do they need to do to get back into that great flow and rhythm that they were in all season long. Because even when they lost games last season, it felt as though it wasn't a big deal. But a lot of the losses this year feel like there's more to it than just they had an off night. And the fact that there are more losses than there were a year ago, I think compared to last year, this one, I think they're maybe 3 games off pace, which is not a ton, but there just doesn't seem to be a clear, definitive, this was just a bad game vibe. It seems like feels like there's more to them losing some of these games now than there was a year ago.
Yeah. And the Warriors were able to repeat, the last team to be able to do that. Was that 17, 18 year?
Yeah, 16, 17, 17, 18, something like that.
Yeah. And then they were able to win another one, but then Denver won the following year. So bits and pieces, different, a little bit of a different full roster, but obviously the same core guys on those teams, and how difficult it is, especially once you have the target on your back, but not just that, the longer playoffs, the shorter off season, guys needing to continue to buy in, right, Sherrod, and continue to make those sacrifices, because it is a sacrifice, right, to win a title. Players, and going back to the first not the first Celtics championship, but the one prior to the most recent one with KG, Pearson, Ray, that was a lot of sacrifice that those players had to make. And I wouldn't say lack of sacrifice was the reason they couldn't win again. I think injuries were the reason they couldn't win again, which is unfortunate. But with this Celtics team, yeah, they've had some guys in and out of the roster so far, but I think the hope is that health isn't going to be a factor in this. What I think will be is whether or not you can get every player to continue to buy into their roles, accept their roles, thrive in their roles, grow into their roles. And there's been a couple guys who have, and there's been some guys I think are not adjusting to it maybe as easy as they could last year, or just simply not, for whatever reason, the production level isn't quite where it needs to be. And I think that's the real reason behind some of the struggles that you've seen over the last 6 weeks or so.
I think part of it, Jimmy, I think is that it's I don't know if it's so much that guys aren't buying into the roles. I just don't. I think guys. I think some guys don't really understand clearly what their role is relative to the roles of the guys around him. Like, yes, my job is to be a scorer, but I also need to be a playmaker when the scoring opportunity isn't there. And that may not necessarily be in my wheelhouse, but that needs to be something that I need to do in those moments. I think last season they went into camp and everyone pretty much had a defined role, and they pretty much played that for most of the season. And guys, frankly, exceeded and outperformed in the roles that they were tasked with. And that's not happening this year. Part of that has to do with the fact that it felt last season was more of a load management-esque way of handling Kristaps Porzingis. This year, it seems a little bit more helter-skelter, where he's had a few bumps and bruises that have sidelined him for a little bit that weren't necessarily part of the load management program. Drew Holiday, I think, has been a little bit more inconsistent this year than he was a year ago. Sam Hauser has been battling injuries. Peyton Pritchard has been the one guy who, if you're looking at his totality this year, he's definitely in a more prominent role and more impactful role, but he's has some ups and downs along the way as well. And he's learning to adjust to how teams are now adjusting to him. So his role is definitely changed, and it's changing literally from one game to the next because he has moved up so much further on the scouting report. And then you got Jaylen Brown and Tatum, who are always going to be, 1A, 1B, depending on what your focus is, and how they have to continue to elevate their play. And I think both of those guys have had moments where they look so much better than they did a year ago, and other times where it's like, damn, who the hell are you? When you got all these different elements coming together with one goal in mind, and that goal is to win another championship, it gets a little messy. It gets a little ugly, and it looks disjointed at times. And while I understand Joe Mazzulla not hitting the panic button, because he's absolutely right not to hit the panic button, there needs to be a caution flag waved, nonetheless, that there's some things that I need to look at a little bit differently. And I think that's really where this team is going to either find a way to get back and win a title, or they're just going to come up short. The path that they took to win a championship last year is not the path that they have to take now. And I think the sooner they embrace that, recognize that, and recognize what changes need to be made, the better their chances are of becoming the first team since the Warriors to repeat as champions.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned Tatum and Brown, obviously. And tonight, both guys solid performances tonight. Tonight's one of those games where it was just Celtics ran away with it, right? I mean, we're gonna have Bobby and Noah come on and talk a little bit about this game, but we're gonna kind of just do more of an overarching look at things right now for the Celtics team, and then Bobby and Noah will come on, and I think we got a joke clip that we'll post in a minute. But Tatum 22, 9, and 7 tonight. Very all around Tatum-esque line, and then you had Brown 17 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. 8 of 14 from the field, which is, efficient for him. One of 3 from 3. I'm mentioning Brown because I don't know if you saw his quote a couple games ago, Sherrod, after the win against the Magic, his walk-off with Abby. Mm-hmm. And she asked him, I don't know specifically what she said to him, but he brought up the fact that his role is changed a little bit. And he said, quote, "I've had to adjust. It's a different year. I just do what the team needs me to do. I've been able to evolve through different things in my career. This team, I'm more of a playmaker, so I just embrace it and get better in that role and do what I do."
Well,
So interesting. I mean, saying all the right things, and that's the exact attitude you want from one of your star players. I guess the question I have is, do you believe him?
yeah, I think he has been.
Is he happy with that?
Well, see, that's a different question. I believe that he believes that he's had to make adjustments. Is he happy with it? I don't think he's happy with it. Hell no. And the reason why I don't think he's happy with it is because when you start looking at the players on his roster, particularly their top tier players, the guys that are all stars and guys in that 30 minutes or more per game types, he's been tasked with making the most significant adjustments for the second year in a row. They need him to be an elite defender. They need him to be a better playmaker. And those are two things that, while they want all their players to be like that, he has been the one that is seemingly tasked with being asked or expected to take it to another level. And part of that is his own fault. Part of that is him putting that on himself, saying, hey, I want to be an all NBA defender. Well, if you're going to put that bullseye on your back, then you damn well better step up at that end of the floor and be great night in, night out. And he just hasn't. He's been good a lot of nights, but certainly I wouldn't say most nights. But yeah, I mean, I think what he's realizing is I think Jalen is an example of be careful what you ask for because you just might get it. He wants to be the guy defensively, and he's getting that opportunity, and he's realizing this shit is hard. I don't know how Drew Holiday and Marcus Smart and those guys do it. Oh, that's right. They don't score as much as I do, so they exert a little bit more energy. And I think what we're starting to see from Jalen, we're starting to see the scoring dip a little bit. And to be very candid with you, I'm okay with that because I would much rather Jalen be a high teens to low 20-point scorer and really good defensively, really good consistently, than be a guy that gets me 24, 25 a night and has 2 or 3 really just absolute crappy defensive possessions. If he's able to cut down, to me, if he's able to cut down the not so great defensive sets that he has, and maybe it costs him maybe 2 or 3 buckets here or there, I'm okay with that because that's going to make the Celtics a better team. They're a better team when Jaylen Brown is an elite defender. Because Jalen is good enough, even if he's playing great defense.
Has he ever been an elite defender, though? I mean, I know
he's had moments.
Push that,
he's had moments where he's been very good. I wouldn't say elite because to me, if you're an elite defender, then you're able to just turn it on whenever you want to. Yeah, it's like Drew Holiday. I don't think Drew Holiday puts a whole lot of thought into what he's doing defensively, but he's an elite defender because it's just in his DNA. That's just who he is. Jalen, I think, is a guy who can work himself into being a really good defender who could at some point potentially be an elite defender. He's not there yet, though. But I am okay with him scoring a few less points and being a better defender because, again, I think that will take this team in a direction that will move them closer to repeating as NBA champions.
I think, yeah, sure. You're okay with that, right? And
now Jalen, that's a different story.
Yeah, he has to be okay with that. And I think, maybe lately, there's been some film floating around I've seen on social media, not just Jalen. I'm not trying to single out him, but there's been guys taking plays off on the defensive end, not rotating, not helping. And it's led to easy buckets for the opponents, whether it's in the paint, layups, transitions, whatever it has been. That has been their Achilles heel, I think, recently, and in a real reason why they have dropped some of these games. And they have, kind of imploded, in some of these fourth quarters. And Jalen's part of that. And it's hard, Sherrod, because he knows he can go out there and score 40. Mm-hmm. Now you're saying, well, how about instead you score 18, but you D up and also, pass the ball to, Derek Whitemore or Jason or whoever. And that's hard because he knows what he's capable of. And he's talking about a finals MVP, a guy who, thinks, all NBA, all-star, all the way down the line. He's still young. He's not Drew Holiday level, age-wise, or to Al Horford, where he can sort of say, you know what, I did my thing. I already scored as many as, he wants to go out there and do that too. So that's kind of the dynamic. And I'm not trying to create something that doesn't exist, but this is kind of what happens when your team kind of falls on a little bit of tough times, right? You start to wonder, okay, why could that be? Or what's different than last year? Or who's playing differently and why? We do have a clip here. Speaking of Jaylen Brown, we have a couple clips, I think, and this is from tonight's game. Amit, why don't you hit the clip for us, and we'll see what we got here.
Seemed like you guys got a lot of good offense out of going at Curry there, especially in the third quarter. What did you like about the way Jaylen kind of approached that matchup?
I thought the first play of the game, Curry deflected a pass, and I thought we made a conscious effort to be more physical in our post attacks, whether it was Curry, Hield, and even Moody at times. And I thought that compromised their defense a little bit, and we were able to take advantage of that. So, I think the physicality of our deep post catchers versus their smalls was impactful, and we found different ways to get to that, whether it was JB, whether it was JT, whether it was KP. But I thought JB did a good job of kind of setting the tone from that physicality standpoint.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
There you go.
I agree. And to me, what I was saying earlier about how the Celtics have to figure out what's the best path to get back to the finals and win it again, because it's going to be different than it was a year ago. I think JB might be the key to unlock that door to get them on that road, because he is the one guy that we can look at right now and say, who can go out there and give me 30 points? Who can go out there and lock up a guy, or at least make life extremely difficult? And remember, Jimmy, this is the other thing too, and no one is really talking a lot about this, but is a clear and undeniable note to officials to let guys play a little bit more now, to be a little bit more physical.
Yeah.
Of all the Celtics players to benefit from that, I don't know if anyone is going to benefit more than Jaylen Brown, because he's the one guy who, again, can be physical defensively and still go and get you 30. I mean, Drew Holiday can be physical. I think, a couple other guys can be physical, but none of those guys have the ability to be physical like Jaylen can, and go out and get you big time
set
scoring.
the tone, like you said.
That's right, and that's what Mazzulla was talking about, and that's what you need from Jaylen. I mean, to be honest with you, and it's not so much a thing where he doesn't want to do it. I just think that he struggles with the one thing that great players tend to struggle with, and that is, I can do this really well. I can do that really well. Why are you asking me to do this other thing?
Right.
Why can't someone else do that? And again, it goes back to a point that you made early on, Jimmy, and that's about sacrifice, and about how what that sacrifice looks like last year is different than what it will look like this year. Your sacrifice last year may have been sacrificing shots. Now your sacrifice might be, sacrificing switching defensively, where you have to actually be more locked in. You have to figure out what that is. And I think the Celtics are still kind of in this discovery phase of trying to figure out what exactly do they have to do in order to unlock the greatness that they have and win another title. Because again, not only do they have to do this because their journey has to be different, but they also have to be respectful of their opponents and how they've changed. Cleveland is not the same team last year that we're seeing now. Same thing with Orlando. Same thing with New York. All these teams are different. In some ways, they're better. They're definitely different, but that doesn't mean they're necessarily now better than you. And that's for the Celtics. They have to figure out how can they get into a flow, a rhythm of doing what they're great at that's better than their opponents, because all of those teams are now legitimate challenges to them. And I even mentioned the Atlanta Hawks, who have won the head-to-head series with the Celtics this year already.
Yeah.
So, there's the good news for the Celtics is that the solution to their problem or getting to where they want to be isn't necessarily adding this or adding that. I think all the answers, they already have them. It's just a matter of finding them, understanding what they mean, and executing on a more consistent basis, but specifically executing in the playoffs.
Facts, my dog. We have another Jaylen clip, Sherrod, from tonight. This is actually Jaylen, not Joe, talking about Jaylen. So I'm going to hit us with this.
Jaylen. Okay.
The Jaylen Brown himself checking in. Wait, what do we got here? Oh, it's Joe. I'm an idiot. It's Joe again on.
More Joe on Jaylen.
Aside, what's that dynamic like when you see a guy might be going through something maybe off the floor, just mentally, and to try to get him back on track?
One, you trust them. You trust the work that they've put in their career. I mean, you trust the work they put in daily. I think that's a huge part of that. These guys go through, so much on and off the court. So it's a lot of trust, just seeing the way he carries himself. And I think it's just my job to, hey, how can I put you in better situations? So I just think it's a high level of communication that you try to have, and just, whatever they need, you try to make sure us as a staff and team can put them in the best position.
Okay. Another Joe bite. Sorry, I thought it was Jaylen Brown, but it was Joe on Jaylen Brown. Which is just as good. Just as good. Maybe we will. Jaylen Brown hasn't spoken much, actually.
I was going to say, that's why I was kind of psyched that you kept saying Jaylen. Like, we haven't heard from Jaylen in a minute. We have not heard from Jaylen in a minute. So
if he does speak, we have 2 reporters on the scene who will make sure that we get that clip. I have no idea.
I would imagine he'll speak tonight. With him being back in Cali, I would imagine he'd speak.
So.
Yeah, I would. No, this was, look, I just think that Jaylen is such an important part to this team, and the focus has been, I think, obviously on what he does from a scoring standpoint, but I think his defense is a difference maker for the Celtics. I think when he is really locked in and making that a priority, I think the Celtics are really, really good, and they're really good even when he's not doing that. But I think they become special good when he's locked in defensively, because again, he's one of the few guys that you can look at that can take his own individual matchup and convert that into points the other way, with steals, deflections, block, all that. He can, and once he gets the ball, he can go, and he doesn't need guys to run with him to start a transition. He can be a one-man transition. He's very good in that regard. And for him, it's just a matter of just, committing to that sacrifice. And it's hard. I don't fault players like Jaylen not one bit for not sacrificing every single night, because none of us do anything, no matter how good we are at it, every night. And when we're asked to do something that isn't necessarily our strength, it's even harder to sacrifice. And so I give him a lot of credit for what he's been able to do up to this point. But, the thing that he has to remind himself, and all these guys have to, is that the goal at the end of the day is to win another championship. And it really doesn't matter who gets the credit or who scores or who gets the rebound. It's about doing whatever role you are tasked with doing to make that happen. Last year we saw Jaylen's role was to be a little bit of everything. He was really, really good offensively. He was a matchup nightmare for pretty much every opponent they saw. And while he's going to have those opportunities, I think this year in the playoffs, his role may be to be more of a stopper this year. That may be what they need from him more so than the points. But he has to figure out what he has to do to help them. And his teammates have to do their parts as well. I mean, if Jaylen is busting his ass defensively and making plays and he's giving up the ball early, you better knock that damn shot down, or you better make that hockey assist and get the Celtics some points, because, he's thinking, damn, I got a guy like Steph Curry on me who, no disrespect to the future Hall of Famer, he can't guard me. And I'm giving the ball up so that you can get a good shot. And so again, it's going to take a collective effort, obviously. But Jaylen, I think he's got the tools to basically make whatever sacrifices necessary and still put his imprint in a significant way on the game.
I agree with everything you say, except I need to see him. I think we all need to see him be a little bit more effective scoring. This dude is a scorer, Sherrod. At the end of the day, it'd be great to see him lock down guys, and we know what he's capable of defensively. But I got to see the outside shot falling a little bit. And Joe Mazzulla mentioned it tonight, the physicality on both ends. Obviously, you want him to be strong defensively, but my favorite Jaylen Brown is the guy that posterizes people.
Yeah.
That's my favorite Jaylen Brown. I think that's everybody's favorite Jaylen Brown. Like, just be the guy who is just more athletic, stronger, fiercer, whatever word you want to use. Tap into that. If you're angry about your role or whatever it is, just unleash that rage on some poor sap on the other team and get the team going that way. Because when he gets out and again, this team needs to get out in transition more. That's another thing that I've been harping on. Because when he's out in transition, I mean, who wants to get in his way? Nobody. So I think that's kind of where I'm at with him a little bit. Certainly you want to see the effort on the defensive end from everybody, but based on his athleticism, what he can be capable of on the defensive side of things. And I do wonder sometimes if he's just not in his own feelings, but just caught up in something that might not be going the way he wants it to, or teammates wanted to. And then that just kind of snowballs into lackluster performance. And so that's kind of where they need to get back to.
The irony to me of that, Jimmy, is that often it's his defense that triggers those potential posterization moments where he's able to get out in transition, or he's able to get a deflection that lands in the hand of Derek White, who starts to break, and he gets it up to Jalen up court, and Jalen's got a dunk. I personally like the bully ball Jaylen Brown, where he'll get the ball and he'll just back a little ass guard to get to that elbow, and then the defense is like,
bring the mid range back. Exactly.
What is the defense going to do if I leave my man? Jalen's just going to pass to the guy that I'm leaving. If I stay where I'm at, he's going to shoot over my little 6'3" guard, because Jalen at 6'6", 6'7" has ridiculous rise on his. He's one of the guys that when he jumps, his release is usually at the peak of his vertical leap. So you're getting him at the highest point of release, which there are very few guys his size that can alter that shot or block it. So he becomes a major problem when he's able to play bully ball. And I don't think he gets as many opportunities as I think he could or should. But again, it goes back to what we were saying earlier about just kind of figuring out what your path is for this team, and Jalen specifically, to be that guy, to be an impact player, to put this team on that path to winning another title. But yeah, the posterizing Jalen I like. Bully ball Jalen I love.
Bully ball. Bring back bullying. Let's bring back bullying, Sherrod. We've gotten away from that over the years, but I say, you know what? You kind of need it.
We're talking about in the basketball context, people, before we get just be clear, Jimmy. We're talking about basketball bullying.
On the court, off the court, just bring it back. It puts everybody in their place. Someone's saying no.
I'm trying to help this kid.
All right. Before I get myself into more trouble, let's talk about our good friends at Prize Picks. It hit me with the Prize Picks. What is Prize Picks, you might be asking? Well, it's the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars. That's billions with a B. In awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to not 10, not 100, 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. And I got to say right now, Sherrod, the big game is coming up. The big game. The three words you want to hear. The big game. And Sherrod's Eagles are still alive. Baby. They made it interesting last night, Sherrod. They made it very interesting. And I actually thought, I'll be honest, I thought the Rams were going to come back and win that game.
You know what? I was feeling good until the kicker missed that last extra point. That's what I'm thinking.
Here we go. That's going to come back. Yeah. Anyways, let me finish this. The big game is almost here, whether or not the Eagles are in it or not. And it's now or never. Don't miss out on the last football game of the season with Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching the big games. Prize Picks is also giving away a free pick for this game, where one of the starting quarterbacks will only need to throw 1 yard to win.
Wow.
I'll be honest, though, if it's Hurts, he may not get that. He's not much of a thrower. If you're correct on at least one more stat projection, you can win real cash. I mean, guys, Prize Picks help you. I mean, they're doing it for you here. Yeah. So check out the promos tab to tail any of our Super Sweat Millie winners big game lineups. Wow. Super Sweat Millie winners big game lineups. If you tail a lineup that goes 3 for 3, you can win a split of $1 million in promo funds. Woo. There's a lot going on right now on Prize Picks. You got to download the app. You got to download the app to get in on this. You can win up to, like I said, you can win up to 1,000 times your money. It's the best way to get action on sports in more than 30 states, including California, Texas, Georgia, Florida, and Massachusetts, where we are right now, Sherrod. So sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Use the code. There you go. Download the app today and use the code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Do that before the big game, guys. You want to get in on these promos. So you want to download it, start playing around with it, and use the code CLNS. Make sure when you do that, Prize Picks, run your game. There you have it. That's our Prize Picks. Our good friends at Prize Picks, and yeah, we've got some fun football games coming up next weekend. Bills Ravens was a good one. I think the better team won. I'm going to just say that.
Well, the Ravens did exactly what
people might disagree with me in there, but
look, I mean, you make a great pass that could potentially force overtime, and a guy literally just dropped it.
I know,
just dropped it. I mean,
he did, but why didn't they run it to Henry? I mean, you've got basically almost like the GOAT running back, and he beasted a touchdown drive on his own, like earlier in that game. Just hand him the ball. He just needs to fall into the end zone. But
I wonder whether just the weather conditions might have been in their heads. They're thinking that, we just need to Lamar just throw the damn ball to a guy who's
Andrews must have been gassed.
Yeah, I don't know. That was
tough. Okay. But you know what? They shot themselves in the foot a couple of times in that game with the turnovers. And Bills move on. So we've got Bills against
the Chiefs.
Bills against the Chiefs. Man, if you're rooting for the Chiefs, you must live in Kansas. This is like the Chiefs are like the Patriots now. Nobody wants the Chiefs. Nobody wants the Chiefs except the referees, apparently. The NFL.
Wow. You sound like DeMarco Ryan.
Hey, we all saw it.
Yeah.
And then you've got Redskins, Eagles, Sherrod. I hate to say it, but I think the Redskins are America's team, or the Bills. It's the Redskins and the Bills right now.
We gotta go villain mode right now.
You do.
Because that's the only way. And I listen, the Redskins are good. I mean, they're playing great. They're doing the things that you're supposed to do this time of year.
We're talking about
what's that, Jimmy?
We keep saying Redskins. We keep saying Redskins. Right. I guess we got to call them Commanders. I did that too.
Right. They are the Commanders. My fault.
We'll bleep that out. Sorry, everybody. We'll bleep that out.
The Commanders have the best quarterback playing in the postseason right now. To me, I don't even think it's close.
Hot take.
Playing right now, he's not the best quarterback overall, but playing right now, absolutely, he's playing better than Mahomes. He's playing better than Allen. He's playing better than my guy. So hell yeah. Daniels, he's been that good for the Commanders without question. But at some point, you got to believe that he's going to come back to earth and play like a rookie.
You would think so. Yeah,
I'm hoping that it's going to be this weekend because my Eagles have like the best defense. And although we're not 100% healthy, we got enough guys out there who balling out. Darius Slay, I think, is going to make at least one pick. And we'll find a way to win. We'll find a way. I'm debating whether I'm debating whether or not I'm going to fly to the game. And Prize Picks or game time. Yeah.
Game time might have to come in here in the clutch.
Yeah.
But you get the best back right now in Barkley. That's for sure. I mean, that dude.
I'm really hoping the weather sucks because then it becomes a running game.
Yeah.
I like our chances when we have to run the ball. When both teams have to run the ball.
But Daniels can run too. That's the thing. It's going to be a running heavy game, right? You've got two mobile quarterbacks. You've got
you've got one mobile quarterback.
I guess Hurts gets out there a bit.
My guy isn't quite as mobile as he usually is, especially after he took that one sack where he got the left knee bent a little bit. So I'm not sure.
No, Daniels, man, I'll tell you what. In New England, everyone's in love with May, but I think Daniels might be the guy out of that draft, at least so far.
I don't think it's an argument.
It's not an argument for sure. Not an argument right now. May's got to we'll give May a chance to throw to somebody first, but I'll tell you what, if you're in Washington, you are on cloud nine after what you've been through, and new owner, new quarterback. All of a sudden, you're in the NFC Championship game. Like things are looking up over there, and if I'm in the NFC East, like you, Sherrod, I'm glad that I'm the Eagles and I'm not the Giants or the Cowboys. Let me just say that because those two teams, they got to deal with a lot for the next few years.
Yeah, unless the Commanders find a way to screw it up, which is very possible.
That is there's still some Commander blood in there somewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah, history there. I'm seeing here a my mom is talking to me here. We got some Drew sound. Let's see what Drew had to say after the game in the locker room.
Talking about Jalen, maybe?
I don't think he's talking about Jalen, but we're about to find out.
Around each other, try
flight question.
The same as normal. I don't think it was anything too drastic or crazy up or down. Pretty normal. I got to see my family since I'm from the West Coast. So
with a little
that was
rigatoni
different. But, pretty normal situation.
Playing some cards. All right. Bobby is hammering the plane. He must have a plane sidebar. It was article sponsored by Delta or something tonight. I don't know what's going on, but we'll get the lowdown from Bobby and Noah coming up here. But it sounds like there was not much of a interesting flight, So I guess we could put that story to bed.
I don't think there was.
It's a long flight, man. You're just chilling.
One, it's a long flight, and two, it's not like there was a very definitive, dramatic moment that they were all trying to come to grips with. I mean, it wasn't like someone had this really ghastly injury, or there was an incident on the court where a couple of players were screaming and cussing each other out, or there, like this wasn't like the end of the game where Kyrie is looking at Gordon Hayward like, why did you get me the ball? And then you got to. There wasn't any type of moment of catastrophe that they were having to kind of deal with and be stuck in this box for 6 hours where they couldn't. It was just unavoidable. No, they haven't played great basketball, but it's not the one thing that we've seen with the Celtics team. If we really start to think about it, they tend to be at their best when they head out west after not playing great. Like they haven't really hit the road playing great basketball, but they somehow find that mojo between the time they leave, Massachusetts and they get to wherever the hell they're going to. And then they just look like the team that won an NBA title just a few months ago. So I'm not worried about them competing. I am worried about them winning another title because I do think that there's some things they've got to clean up if they're going to win another title. But as far as them competing for one, they'll be one of the last team standings. There's nothing that they have done that makes me feel that's not going to happen. But I don't feel nearly as confident in them winning a title now as I did at the start of the season.
Poor Pete. He came onto the show. We were talking football. All he wants to know, Sherrod, is if KP played okay today. Pete, we love you. We know you're a good fan of the show. I think KP played great today.
Yeah,
I think he played good today. I think he's been playing good. Like the consistency is there for me now with Porzingis, and hit a three, like I think to put him up 8-0 to start the game. Kind of got rolling early, and they didn't really need much from him in the second half. So I mean, you're going to look at the box score saying nothing's really going to jump out at you like, oh my God, this guy went off, because it just wasn't that necessary of a performance, from any of the guys. But what Porzingis gave you in that first half, I thought he looked active out there. Outside, inside game is starting to round into form, and it's always just going to come down to bubble wrap. Wrap this guy up any chance you can get, and when he's out there, hold your breath, because when he's healthy, he's doing his thing. And I think the broadcast called him the X factor tonight, and I think that's probably true, especially when you look at the way some of these other guys are struggling a bit right now, whether it's Brown, whether it's White, whether it's the bench. You can go down the line with some guys that aren't probably at the place where they were last year at this time. Porzingis, you can't really say that for. I would say he's pretty, he's kind of looks like a similar type of player than he was last year for them. He's still ramping up maybe a little bit more, but I think at this point we can kind of expect same type of guy that we got from him last year.
Yeah, I mean, the Celtics, they remind us all that, they are a team that, as talented as they are imperfect. They have some flaws. But the thing about Porzingis is he allows you to have a little bit more of a buffer for those nights where guys aren't shooting the ball well, or guys aren't necessarily at the top of their game. And the point that you made, Jimmy, that I think to me, it's the one thing that he gives them that really is problematic for pretty much any team they play. And that's the inside-outside component. His ability to score from the elbow, from the block, from the perimeter, from the corner. He's a guy that is a major matchup problem. And he gives you a really, really good interior presence defensively, which of all the things that the Celtics have benefited from since he has been in Boston, his interior defense has been the most surprising to me. Because, he was never a guy that when you watched him play in New York or even in Dallas, did you get this, or hell, it's definitely not Washington. did you see him as a guy that could actually be a presence defensively? He would average like a block or so a game, but when you're 7'2", 7'3", you should be able to block a shot, on average a night. But to me, the more impressive thing about him is just the fact that when he's out there defensively, he makes teams reluctant to look to attack off the dribble and finish at the rim. And that's a really good thing for the Celtics to have. And frankly, when you look back to those Brad Stevens coach teams, the ones that were good but not good enough, they never really had that type of player. And the minute that they had an opportunity to land someone like that and trade for them and acquire them, they did. And the rest is history. I like what I'm seeing out of Porzingis, but Jimmy, we're both on the same page. I don't want to do anything that will put him in harm's way between now and the playoffs. I love limiting his minutes. I think that his minutes should continue to stay capped at 30. I don't want to see him play more than 30 minutes in a game between now and the playoffs. And it's not because I don't think he can do it. I know he can do it. I just don't think they need him to do it. And I just don't want his body to go through that type of wear and tear because, again, everything is going to come down to what happens in April, May, and June. You've got to do a ramp up to get there. I know that. The players know that. But ultimately, when you look at this season and you're looking at, what's the narrative of the 24-25 season, it is going to come down to what they do in the playoffs. And Kristaps Porzingis is going to be an important part of that story to be told. If it's going to have the kind of fairy tale ending that the Celtics are hoping for, similar to last year. Yeah, I mean, I think that him being in the lineup, more consistently here could get the other guys going. You need consistency, and just to start this season, whether it was Porzingis, whoever it was, that they couldn't get those starters in there. And then once they do, weirdly enough, that's when the losses started to come. I don't know if that's coincidence or if that's just I don't know. I find it hard to believe that as better players enter the starting lineup, it becomes harder to win. But I just think there's adjustments that need to be made. Get reacclimated with the rotations and things of that nature. And again, guys accepting different roles. I don't think Porzingis' role has changed at all. He's a guy that came in here, knew what his role was going to be, obviously in and out of the lineup due to injury. So never was going to be in a situation where he was going to be some sort of alpha role. When he came to Boston, he knew that he was coming onto a team with Tatum and Brown. And after that, he kind of slid into that third spot. Now, you look around, Derek White on any given night could be in any number of the pecking order there. And you've had guys, Holiday, not so much as often this year, but in the past, who's been able to step into bigger roles as well. So I think they're rounding into form, Sherrod. I mean, they're just over the halfway mark here. We're 43 games in. They're 30-13. There's been some blowout wins like we've had tonight. And there's been some really disappointing collapses like Saturday night. And I think it was you and John to start the show Saturday. Did John lose the rest of his hair after that one or what? I don't want to go too much into it, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is things are wildly different on any given night with this team. And it's kind of hard to know sometimes what you're going to get. I don't think anyone expected the Celtics to drop that game Saturday night. I mean, it was the second night of a back-to-back, but again, you're at home, you're playing against a Hawks team that you really, talent-wise, are a couple notches above there. And it was just some bonehead mistakes, right? Yeah. Whether it was bad fouls, whether it was missed free throws, poor shot attempts towards the end, whatever it was, it's that consistency that I don't think you're getting from them right now. And I think that's why Joe Mazzulla sometimes doesn't really know what to say because, I mean, he's got a front row seat to it. He knows what the team's capable of, and then he sees what happens at certain points. So we've got speaking of Drew, we've got a clip here from Drew, and I think this was a question that Celtics Garden Report Noa Dalzell asked. So we will toss it up there on the screen, Amit, and see what our friend Drew has to say.
Any metric you guys look at to try to, find better shooting percentages? Like, is it just luck? Is it, better ball movement? Is it better defense? Like, what do you think is leading to some games you guys shooting a lot better?
That might be better for y'all. I don't really know the stats and stuff like that. I think anytime you move the ball, you have a better chance of making shots. You usually have better shots, more wide open shots, but sometimes shots just don't fall. I think we do rely on our defense a lot, which is great. That's always going to give us a chance to win, similar to last game where I think we started off hot and then we started missing shots even though we were getting great shots. Our defense is the one that really kept us in the game. So the way we play, I think we always have a chance.
Question for us, I guess. Analyzing the shot selection.
Well,
to make Miss League, Sherrod. That's what they say.
You and Doc Rivers.
Famous quote.
Here's the thing. I think the shot selection isn't that radically different than it was a year ago. I think that the biggest difference is that there was a flow and rhythm to their shot taking and shot making last year that I don't think is there now. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they've got guys in different roles with different levels of expectations and now that they kind of know what everyone can do, I don't know. They're still trying to figure out exactly what does their role look like for this team. I think, Peyton Pritchard, I think, has really kind of created a domino effect. I think overall in a positive way, the fact that he's become more impactful, more of a difference maker. But when that happens, other guys have to recalibrate what they do as well. And I think some guys have adjusted to that better than others. Sam Hauser with all the back issues. There has to be a bit of a recalibration on that as well because you can't.
A couple shots tonight for him.
Yeah, and this was a good night for Sam. I mean, he looked, and I thought that even though Al Horford's numbers weren't great in terms of shot making and things like that, he made a couple of really, really good passes that got guys like Sam Hauser, for example, great looks that he was able to knock down. And so I think everyone is still trying to figure this thing out. But the cool part about the Celtics is that you've got guys figuring out how to be better and how to be great and things like that. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to necessarily go outside of who you have to figure that out. Like there's some teams that you say they're pretty good, but they could use this type of player or that type of player to get over the hump. The Celtics don't have that issue. They've got the talent. It's just a matter of can they keep their guys healthy enough and can those guys get back to playing the way they did a year ago or close to that? Mm-hmm. And if not, what can they do differently to impact winning? Those are some of the issues and questions that the Celtics are kind of still trying to navigate through. And keep in mind that it's not like the wheels have fallen off. I mean, they still have one of the best records in the NBA. They're going to be a top 2, at worst, I would imagine 3 seed in the East. They're probably going to be 2.
3 seed.
I said at worst, Jimmy. At worst.
Watch out for those Knicks. Watch out for those Knicks.
Scenario. Yeah. But they're most likely going to be number 2 seed, in which, again, for them, that's fine because that means they'll be playing a team that they should be.
You play those Knicks either way, though. I mean,
yeah.
With the way they've been playing at home, Sherrod, 2 or 3 won't really matter. I mean, they've been dropping games at home left and right, so that's definitely one thing that they're going to need to get right before the playoffs. Is and again, Jason Tatum seems to understand how great the fans are and the atmosphere in the TD Garden, but I think sometimes they might take it a little bit for granted. So you're really going to come out and it's just foot on the gas. If you're at home, especially in the playoffs, just set the tone early on because those Knicks, I mean, we're jumping ahead here to a playoff matchup that might not even happen, but it's shaping up to be that. And that's going to be a dog fight type of a series.
Yeah.
We're going to, it sounds like Bobby and Noah are getting set up, so we're going to hear from them shortly. They are at the game. They're going to give us some insight on what went down in the locker room because there was no podium aside from Joe tonight. I think everything was in the locker room. So they were in there for some of those questions. We already heard from Drew a little bit. We'll see who else spoke, if anybody. I actually don't know who spoke. And in the meantime, we were going to toss it up. And let's hear from John Zanis, who's not on the show tonight, but we're going to bless us with his voice as we hear about our great sponsor, Game Time.
This episode is also powered by Game Time, the best place to get tickets to the games, events, and concerts you want to see. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Game Time is filled with terrific features like all-in pricing, so you know exactly how much you're paying. No surprise fees at checkout. You also get panoramic views from your seats in the app so you know exactly what you'll be looking at before you buy, plus a lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. Once again, download that Game Time app, create an account, use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. What time is it? It's game time.
All right, Sherrod, I'm on Game Time right now, actually. And guys, there's a lower there. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. And you can use that CLNS code, Sherrod, if you're interested in going to this NFC Championship game. Right now on Game Time, I'm seeing upper sideline, section 220, row 23, $817.
That's down because it was. I looked yesterday.
That's before the $20 off. So you're going for under 800.
No, that's a good deal because I was looking yesterday and I think it was the cheapest seat was like maybe it was north of $1,000.
Was it? Okay, so they're starting. Yeah, maybe. And that's the beauty of Game Time. You just keep an eye on it, right? Keep an eye on things and check in a little bit closer to Game Time. You might now, Sherrod, you might need to commit a little bit sooner with at least a flight situation, unless you're gonna road trip it. You could you could do that too. Philly's not that far.
For my ass, it's I'm not no. No.
But yeah, you're gonna probably be up in the upper section there, unless you really want to get splurgy. I'm seeing 1,600, 1,800, all that stuff there. But anyways, that's Game Time. Only place to go to get your tickets. And then just for the sake of comparison, I wonder what it costs. Let's see what the Chiefs Bills is going for, the cheapest ticket.
That game's in Kansas City, right?
Oh, that's way cheaper.
Yep.
$436 right now. $436. You can go and you can watch the game in Kansas City. $424. I'm seeing. What's that all about? I think you're going to see a lot of Bills fans at this game if that's what it's going for. If you're a Bills fan and you've been waiting this long for this opportunity, and I think this Chiefs team is, and we're not going to talk football for another 45 minutes here, but I think this Chiefs team is beatable. Again, they've got more men on the field than the opponent with the referee situation, but other than that, I think this Chiefs team is beatable. Bobby, give me a thumbs up if you're good to go. He gave me the thumbs up. He really listened. What's up, Bob? Oh, is he frozen already?
What's going on?
Oh, there you are. How you doing?
Good. Just got out of the locker room.
Glasses off. He means business. Yeah, you were in the locker room. What can you tell us, Bob? What can you tell me and Sherrod? We've touched all the bases, I think, but we're waiting for your insight here.
Yeah, pretty good mood in there. Lively, a lot of chatter. You guys getting ready to watch the big college game. Yeah, courtesy of me. I feel like for them,
yeah, we know.
No.
They're
actually, you know what, Amit, play the clip. Let's hear from Joe.
How was the flight out here for you guys? Did you kind of have any conversations?
And look at the eye. There it is again.
Yes, in the recent stretch you guys have been
Bobby.
No.
I love that.
That's all he had to say about that. Drew Holiday didn't. We played the clip from Drew. Not, he was a little bit more wordy, but similar response in the sense where it didn't seem like it was much going on in the flight.
No, I think they were unwinding and just getting ready for this game, and it was short order, right? They didn't have a couple of days here to recollect themselves, and that's what Jason just said. It's like they don't get too upset about a game after because they're preparing for the next game 2 days later here. So that's the last couple of days for them. It was funny, though. Joe came back to the podium after the game and was like, how about that long flight, buddy?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, we need to get that. We need to get that clip. Amit, get me that clip. Anyways,
it was funny. It was funny. And I thought his answer there was funny, too. They're not worried about this. And I don't know if that's right or wrong. I've complained about that in the past.
I think it's
good
to be worried. I don't think worried is the word you want them to be.
No, I do think they're serious about addressing the issues, right? I think they're trying to figure stuff out. I don't think there's a sense among them that everything's fine. This is great. Like, I think they are actively trying to figure some stuff out. And you saw it again in this game. Jason came out, about 7 minutes into the first or so there. And then Jalen gets a 8-9 minute stretch to begin the first quarter. And then they bring Jason back in for the last couple minutes there and take Jalen out after his 7-8 minute stint. So I think they're getting away from that full Tatum first quarter. You take Jalen out 5-6 minutes into the game and have him wait until the second quarter to get back out there. They tinkered with that the last couple games, and I think they found the right mix in terms of, all right, have Tatum go a couple stints in the first, keep him out there for a long time still, but still give Jalen the run time to get into his rhythm to start a game. Because he mentioned it again tonight. In the past, he plays 12 minutes to open these games. He's in charge of setting the tone offensively and making sure they're in the right place. And when he comes out of a game after 5-6 minutes, Jimmy, after they get off to a bad start, all of a sudden it's like, whoa, I can't do anything anymore to help what's going on. So Jason said Joe talked to them about it. With Kristaps being back, that's an adjustment Joe made over the last couple of games here, and it looks like that's going to continue. So obviously it's not something we talked about much on Saturday because they lost that game, but even in that game, as you guys heard Joe say, he felt like they did a lot of good stuff and came away, especially defensively, happy with what they did in that game. So they screwed up late. They lost. They blew it in overtime. But they found something that night that they used again tonight and worked well here, I thought.
Yeah.
Jimmy,
you're muted, Jimmy.
Oh, my bad. Jaylen Brown, you were in there for Brown, right, Bobby?
Yeah. Did you guys hear any sound from him yet?
Well, we just got it loaded. Should we play it or?
Yeah, I thought Brown was in a better place than I expected him to be, just mood-wise, obviously, given how he's played the last week or so here. So, I don't know. See for yourselves.
All right, let's play it. Here we go. If it's too long, we'll get out of it. Okay. Here we go.
Especially you being from Atlanta and a black man as well. Always special for you.
Yeah, for sure. So many people that came before us sacrificed so much, to push society forward, push equality forward, so to be able to, use my platform, play basketball or do what I got to do is, the least I could do, just being able to just praise those people who came before, who, sacrificed so much, their lives, their livelihood, their family. As long as I'm here, continue to honor them for that because we still got a long way to go, but, we're grateful and thankful for the sacrifices that they've made.
About halfway through the year now, you kind of manage the expectations that the team has, coming off the championship and obviously being expected to win every game, and even for you individually, the kind of expectations you built for yourself. Like, what's that process been like through the first half there?
I think it's been great. I think it's been great. Every year presents its own challenges, and you just got to make adjustments on the fly. Just embrace it. Just try to come out and do what your team needs you to do to help get a win, and continue to have solitude in that. I think that we are still learning and growing as a unit. I think we're in a spot that if we continue, I think we'll be better for it in the long run. But it's been a process.
Last couple of games, you got to play a little deeper in the first quarter. I know that's been an adjustment for you this year, those rotations. I feel like it helped a little bit, mixing those up a little bit.
Yeah. You could say that. I feel like I'm usually the one that set the tone for the team. So sometimes not being out there when we kind of have a sluggish start. I feel like at different times in my career, that's been me to help negate that. But different year, things get switching up, and things get switched up, and you just got to be all right with that. I don't really complain or anything. I just try to come out and be the best version of myself.
Did you ask
There we
to
go.
guard
Brad Stevens flashback.
Seems thrilled. Seems thrilled with that, Bobby.
Yeah. I think tonight was a challenge, just from a travel standpoint, coming off a tough overtime loss. Everybody's a little bit beaten up, Joe talked to me about it. And, just trying to take that challenge, chasing the guy around. It's not easy, but try to do what it took for us to get a win.
Jalen, first of all, how's your head? You took a shot the other night and you weren't feeling quite right. How are you, and how did you make it through that?
The next morning, it definitely hurt when I woke up, but feeling a little bit better now. I had some swelling on my face, but it's gone down now. Go ahead.
And what's the last week for you been like? I know Toronto was a tough game for everybody, and just trying to kind of get back to yourself. What's that process been like?
It's been great. I mean, you gotta love it, just because it's hard to win in this league. You can't take it for granted. And I think we've had to fight for. It hasn't been as easy as we would have liked, and I think that's good for us. It's not supposed to be, and it just shows you how hard it is to win night to night. You can't take winning for granted. You can't skip steps or details, and us losing has been reminders of that. This is what it takes each and every night to be that. So we got to get that. We got to get that back, and build on it.
Are you enjoying the struggle of trying to win and overcoming, maybe some inconsistent stretches more than you had earlier in your career, just given everything you've experienced in this league?
Yeah, for sure. Because you, as one of the leaders of the team, you gotta, you're responsible for, not only just yourself but others as well. So, trying to get other guys going, trying to, make the right plays and balance on trying to be the best version of you is a part of it. So, embracing that, because I feel like, as we move towards the postseason, only way we're going to be able to get over the hump is together. So I'm not looking at it from an individual standpoint. I'll be fine, but just from a team standpoint, how can, everybody be better? How can we get Sam going, D. White going? I can give it Drew, KP's plan. It's so looking at it from a holistic approach is kind of like my mindset.
The first possession of the game, when Curry got a deflection, he said you guys kind of had to change the physicality against him. How did you approach kind of that matchup with him on you and try to take advantage of the size of that?
Just being aggressive and just being physical. I'm guarding him, so chasing him around, but on the defensive end, making him pay as well. Anytime we got in transition where he was cross-matched and he was on me, trying to just, make him pay. Make him work, and just making the right play.
Punish his ass.
Drawing the defense in, kicking it out. That led to some open shots.
Bully ball.
And just being a playmaker. That's pretty much
Bully
it.
ball, Jalen.
Kristaps has found some rhythm, gotten off to some quick starts the last handful of games. What has that done for that starting group? And
it's great.
him also?
KP is big for our team, so him being healthy, him feeling great is good for us, especially moving past the halfway point. Deeper into the year, healthy KP is a good sign.
Thank you. All right. Get him out of here. Cool. All right. Yeah. That was a good Jaylen Brown. We haven't heard from him in a while. Bully ball is back. I think Brown's saying all the right things, Bobby, talking about what he can do to, adjust, what his role is, thinking about the team, the greater good. He's going to be okay. What can we do for the team? And it's important. I think it's probably, if you had never watched a Jaylen Brown press conference before or ever met the guy, you would think that he looked really pissed off about everything that he was saying. But that's kind of the baseline look. And it's for him. So it's kind of hard to read, how, I don't know if the word is happy, but maybe happy he is.
Bless you, Bobby.
Bless you. Bless you. How happy he is while he's saying these things, and if he really does buy into what he's saying, and if he's cool with the role that he's in and the playmaking and all those things.
Yeah, and if we're taking a look at, is there something deeper than boredom or their play or their shooting that's impacting them this season? It's something like that. And that's the only thing I feel like we've heard Brown complain about this year. And I know he said he doesn't want to complain, but or at least comment on this year, is that role. And I think it is a tangible difference for this team and the way it's impacted Tatum, where Tatum's having this amazing career year and Brown, where he's had to pass more and figure things out as he's shooting poorly. That's the thing you look at. It's the thing we know, Jimmy, right, publicly, that could be part of the problems here. So it feels relatively minor in the grand scheme of things, just when guys are coming in and coming out. But given that that's all we have here, it is something I latch onto a little bit. And is there more? Is there something deeper than that in terms of guys' roles or what they're being asked to do this year that's undermining the team a little bit? I don't know. I feel like we don't have enough of a full picture of what's going on behind the scenes, but I did find it interesting that, Brown, Tatum, Joe, they're all talking about when guys are coming in, when guys are coming out. And, Tatum mentioned, or Brown mentioned too, like with KP coming back, that's why they made this change here. So I'm interested to see how they evolve with that, because again, Atlanta was an awful game, but it wasn't because of that. This was a great game, in part, I think, because of that, those rotations and those guys' ability to get touches. I feel like Brown getting the matchup on Curry, too, offensively helped him a lot in this game, even though he shoots just, 8 of 14, much better than he's been of late. But, he can be even better than that. And if this rotation thing gets him going, if this rotation thing gets him in a better place, I think temperamentally, Noah, it's going to bleed down to the rest of the team. I think so much of their energy level and their defense and some of the problems we're talking about here flows down from Tatum and Brown. And if those guys are connected on the same page, both playing well, and in turn, both defending at a high level, everybody else is going to do it. I mean, did you see the Holiday energy tonight, Jimmy? And, White and other guys getting going, Porzingis, like everybody just had this real burst because of the way Tatum and Brown started this game, I feel like.
And we're going to bring in Noah. Bobby's hitting on Jaylen Brown. We played the full Jaylen Brown locker room sound. So we're all on the same page and what he had to say after the game. Talking a little bit about what he said about kind of different roles and accepting that and what he can do to help the team. So I want to get your thoughts on Brown's comments, his play tonight, and also just this game in general. What stood out to you?
Yeah, I think honestly, the message that we're getting from this team, from Tatum to Brown to Mazzulla, is that they're embracing this stretch a lot more than the fans and the media are. And I actually buy it. Obviously, they're going to be smart. They're not going to start calling each other out to the media or sounding like unhappy. But I believe Jaylen when he says that that they're enjoying this, that they're figuring this out. It's a little bit counterintuitive because it looks so much more fun to win. And obviously, I think they do have more fun when they're winning, but I think the general feeling that we have, and this is the first time we've heard from Jaylen for a little bit of time, that they are embracing the challenge. And I'm glad Bobby asked all those questions about the rotation, because that is the one thing that we do have to work with. As he said, like, this is the only thing that we've seen that's different. And I'm glad that Jaylen said, like, it was a little bit of an adjustment, and it is kind of hard for him. And it seems like them going back now and making this he plays the first 9 minutes instead of just the first 6 is a conscious effort to see, like, hey, this wasn't working for him, let's figure out something else. So it's all good things. It's good they're kind of talking through that and that they're being candid about it. And I am glad it was asked, because I think that we were all kind of monitoring the substitution pattern changes, but it seems like it's pretty consequential to them.
Yeah, and that kind of started out of nowhere, Jimmy. Like, I don't think that was a plan for them coming into the year, is that they were going to take Jaylen out of that role and put Tatum in. Tatum went crazy in that first game. What did he shoot, like 10 of 14 that night or something? So they just kept letting him roll, and it was like, oh, shit. Should we just keep letting Tatum roll when he starts going in these games? And I do think that was actually a fault of Joe's in the past, is he gets set in a rotation. Some guy would be blazing hot, and they take him out. Or sometimes it was Jaylen, and more often than not, it was Tatum, and that would undermine a guy. And now, for the most part, Tatum's starting these games great. They keep letting him roll, and someone's got to come out, and it's Jaylen a lot of the time here. So it doesn't allow Jaylen to heat up in some of the ways we've seen in the past. But if they can find a balance between getting both of those guys involved, that's the right fit. Now, something Noah and I talked about during this game, we were watching for it. I don't know why they can't play off each other a little more. Like, I think that could probably solve this problem too a little bit. Like, get a 2-man game going, set some screens for each other, just directly play off each other. I think we kind of like one pass, Noah, between these two guys tonight.
Yeah, and again, I want to preface this by saying I don't think this is like, I'm Jaylen and I don't want to find Tatum.
Wow.
I haven't even finished my thought. But I do think that there's zero like actions of them playing off of one another. Like, they
zero.
just play. Yeah, I mean, I counted. I didn't know the NBA counted passes. I wouldn't have counted if I had known the NBA tracks that Bobby showed me. So I now know how to use that
So
feature.
they're
But yeah,
down.
they're not. I'm
they're
sitting here
down,
like
Jimmy,
counting, but there wasn't
they're
much to
down
count.
from
So
they're down from 10, 11 passes between each other in their career per game, give or take, to like 7 this month. And part of that's the team. The team's not passing at all. They were last in passes in the league over the last 15 games coming into this. So it's a team-wide thing, but it's also them. Like sometimes it's just, and I think it's the way they play Noah too, as a system, that they just have one of those guys line up a mismatch and the other guy stands to the side and spaces the floor, and that's their game.
that's
But
exactly
it
what
doesn't
is.
allow for much rhythm to build as an offense sometimes. It can make them a little stagnant.
Like,
I
what
just
if you just ran Tatum Brown pick and rolls? It's not like the smartest thing to do, but why not just for fun? I feel like it'd be a good vibe move, even if it's not like, oh, this is what's gonna exploit the mismatch.
I don't think anyone would know what that looks like.
I think
They
the
don't
world
picture
would
it.
stop. The world
I
would
think the world would
explode
stop.
instantly. It would explode instantly if that happened.
John's head would explode at home. It'd be like a nuclear bomb.
But if Jalen's the new playmaker, then you would think that you might see that.
You know what he's gonna do, Noah?
And
What
Tatum,
do you
too.
do in pickup? You do it in pickup. You hold your fist out, right? Have Brown look at Tatum and hold his fist out, and have Tatum come on over and set a screen.
Bobby, we've seen your pickup box scores. Don't make me put that box. Bobby's
I'm
box
not running
score.
pick and roll. I'd be setting the pick.
Noah, this is a true story. We tweeted out Bobby's box score to one of his games a year ago, and it kind of went viral. It kind of went viral.
Evan Turner
I didn't
responded
see
to
it.
it.
Evan Turner.
Evan Turner literally showed it to Brad Stevens and was like, "Look how bad this is."
I'm
He
gonna have
did.
to go and find that after.
I think I
So
shot
I
what
think-
6 for 26.
Oh,
Something like
26 shots, Bobby?
They were
I
all
don't know how it
twos. I
happened.
think they were all twos, right?
Even Christian Megliola, head of PR for the Celtics, chimed in and was like, "Pass the ball, Bobby. You're better than this."
It was like 0 assists, 0 rebounds.
I want to find this.
26
Is
shots.
this still on Twitter?
Oh,
Yeah.
it's still there somewhere. I mean, I tweeted it out. I don't know. I don't remember exactly what.
Let's see. I'll go find
what I
it.
tweeted. Anyways,
The other thing I was
we
gonna
don't-
say while Bobby
yeah.
finds that clip, because I do want it, is that just we've heard from a couple people tonight. I think you guys played the Steve Kerr sound about just him, what his perspective is on defending a title. I just asked
Yeah.
Steph Curry the same thing, and he was like, "They're 30-13. Like, what did you guys think was going to happen?" And I know that those of us that follow and assess each one of these games know that they haven't been playing well. So it's not like 30-13. That can mean a couple different things, but
Sure.
there is a general feeling outside of this team, just around the NBA, that I think they'll be fine, and this is just kind of how things go, and this is normal for after a championship. It seems normal to everybody else. Like, their reactions are almost kind of like, what did you guys think was going to happen? That they were just going to come, like,
Right.
teams have been scheming to beat them all summer. That's what Steph said. He's like, after you win a championship, they spent all summer trying to figure out how do you beat the team that just won the championship, and that's what you have to start the season dealing with every single night. So there is an element of just being here and just talking to these other people in the NBA space that it's like, I think there's a little bit of an overreaction on the Celtics side.
All right. I don't. Yeah, can we zoom in on this?
No. Off the bench, 26 shots.
Off the bench.
Oh my God.
22 minutes, 26 shots.
That is-
zero threes.
I had 3 blocks.
0 assists.
How did you manage?
Only 1 turnover. I don't know. Maybe they probably just missed a couple, but
When was this?
I remember we were talking about who were we? Oh yeah, Barillo.
2023.
Who's
Barillo
the
went
dude-
crazy.
Who's the dude on your team? Bellman Barillo. I mean, sign him up. The Celtics team could use him off
36,
the bench.
15, and 7.
Damn.
15 boards for this guy. I mean, Bobby.
The shooting percentage
Maybe-
is in line with the team, to be fair. They're all kind
Maybe,
of
Maybe
I mean,
he
Bobby
lost
shoots
a lot of
great.
potential assists passing to me.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That is
You
true.
would have had a triple double.
Are you just not are you just in the paint strictly, Bobby? Like, I know you're not
I
shooting
think
15 footers.
I shot a mid-rangers. Yeah, no, I shot a lot of mid-rangers that game,
You're
and
a
I
mid-
didn't
you're a
feel like 26, but I guess it was. Here's Evan Turner.
That's just
26 shots, 20 minutes. The wildest thing he's ever seen. Yeah, and he's seen a lot. Evan Turner has seen a lot. Anyways,
26 shots off the bench. Damn, Bobby.
yeah. Hey, you got to maximize.
That's like
You gotta-
Jamal Crawford, Eddie House esque.
You got to
He called you
maximize your
twin.
time. Bobby, I'm gonna just go out on a limb and say you're not still playing on that team.
No.
Yeah.
I don't have much time these days.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Yeah, that's definitely why.
Good answer.
Yeah. Yeah, we're all busy. We're all busy. We know how it is when you don't get the call back. Noah, what else? What else from this one? Were you guys there for Tatum? Did Tatum speak? Because
Yes.
we haven't played any Tatum sound. I think we have some. It might be in the lab chopping it up, but what did he have to say after this?
His vibe was generally positive. I mean, they're all on message. They're on message that they're enjoying the stretch. They're trying to find joy in every day. I asked him what he meant by joy. He was like listing out like the sports that they've played in practice, like dodgeball and pickleball and all these other things that piss off fans. I see the comment sections nowadays when the Celtics media team posts pickleball highlights. Nobody's liking pickleball highlights anymore.
Well, the problem is
they're done with
they
it.
did that. The problem is they did it in like October and they posted it during a losing streak.
No, they're still doing stuff like that all the time, though. I mean,
yeah, but for that video specifically.
Yeah. It's
So,
hard to be
I
a
think that
social
was
media
just bad
manager during a
timing.
losing streak.
Yeah, seriously.
No matter what they post, they're getting crucified.
I know.
I don't.
Or like when the
So-
team loses and they just have to post like the score and nothing else with it.
Yeah.
I get both sides here because, listen, we're talking about 16 games where it went pretty bad. And it's like, what do you expect? It's like, well, you expect them to be great. They're a great team. They're trying to repeat. You want to see them play well now. So I don't remember a couple of years ago, Jimmy, when they were playing Atlanta in that playoff series and they were up like 25 in those games or something. And the lead came crashing down to like 6 late. Like the Hawks just came storming back in garbage time. And Shaughnessy was there and was like, oh, Joe, what happened there in the fourth quarter? The lead came down from like 30 to 6. And Joe was like, what do you want us to push the lead up to 50? And Dan was like, yeah. Why shouldn't there be a high expectation for this team? I don't understand why they're confused about that because they're trying to win a championship again. They're trying to do something great. They're trying to be considered great. So we're going to hold them to that standard when they're not playing well. Like, I don't know what they want us to do, Jimmy. Like after an awful loss, like just go in there and be like, you guys are going to be fine, right? And they're like, yeah. And then we just go our separate ways. Like they played pretty bad for 16 games, and that's going to elicit a reaction.
Yeah, but but Bobby, what you said, that's exactly what they want you to do. They want you to pretend as if what you just saw wasn't nearly as bad as what you just saw. It's
called gaslighting.
Right. But in their defense, I mean, if they've had a 60 game stretch where they're 8-8, you got to realize that means they were 22-5 outside of that stretch. That's really good.
Yeah, for sure. And we were probably singing their praises during that.
Right. But it's not. But the thing that I think is very real is that it's not sustainable when you play that well. I mean, even the Cavaliers are starting to come back down to earth. Oklahoma City had a stretch where their 2 are coming back down to Mortalville. And the Celtics, they're a good team. They're a very good team. But there's really about maybe 4 or 5 teams that you can really throw into one pot. And one of them is probably going to be the NBA champion. But it's not going to be a slam dunk. This team is going to win it. And the Celtics, that's the reality of where they are right now. They are one of the few who has a legitimate shot at winning an NBA title. And Jimmy and I talked about this earlier. The path that they took to get it last year cannot be the path that they take this year because you've got different players in the mix. And your team, even though personnel-wise looks the same, the roles are very different for a lot of your players. And that forces you to recalibrate to some extent. And I think they're still trying to figure out what does that recalibration look like going forward.
I'm hesitant to do this, but let's play a little bit of Tatum and see how much we can get
the nightcap, the Tatum nightcap.
It's almost 9 o'clock.
Defensively, you guys
this
pretty
is a wind down
locked
time.
into starting this one, and then do you feel like just the offense came alive in the third quarter? Was that how would you assess it?
Yeah, I think just our attention to detail to start the game on the defensive end, and then just our physicality. Joe said at halftime, he just felt like we was locked in, and our physicality kind of dominated the game. Our offensive rebounding.
I don't know.
And the game opened up. We started hitting shots.
We lost
sense too that the Warriors just kind of like started just struggling. I mean, they had a lot of open shots they just couldn't land.
I mean, yeah, trust me, we've been there before. It's definitely a make and miss league. So Sometimes you're just not hitting shots.
I hate y'all. I hate you all.
He's not that bad.
He's not.
This is good Tatum. This is not sleepy time Tatum.
I think understanding
This is better Tatum than usual for sure.
This is better.
Just
Feel
I've
the
been through it
energy.
before, and I've been
Stop,
through
guys.
spurts of the season where I was trying to rush.
I think
to get
he's got the
end
message.
and skip steps, and it resulted in us losing the conference.
Turn it
finals.
up. Turn it up.
Whereas last year,
Early game
didn't
too.
get bored. We didn't skip steps. We just tried to get a little bit better every
Just
day.
turn up the volume.
We knew the result with that. So keeping that in perspective and just understand it's hard. It's hard to win night in and night out in the league. I don't think it's a question of like, are we bored or not? It's tough. Like we get everybody best shot. We put a lot of work in, and sometimes we don't play as well as we would like to, and that can be frustrating sometimes. But I wouldn't say we bored or anything.
Last couple games, come out in the first quarter, come back in. Do those rotations kind of influence your rhythm at all, or just like does that impact you at all in terms of like when you're going in the game, when you're coming out, and is that stuff you know going in?
Yeah, I mean it's something me and Joe talk about. Like for most of the season, I was playing the whole first quarter, in the third, and then we just kind of had a talk of, things changed, dynamics changed. KP came back. What's best for our team, and maybe me starting the fourth quarter or whatever. And all of us, we just gotta be open-minded, and it can fluctuate throughout the season. And knowing that I'm gonna play 34, 35 minutes, it all ends up the same. Just patterns change, but you just gotta be open-minded to that.
All right, that's Tatum.
I enjoyed that. That was good, Tatum.
They're kind of saying, yeah, this is wind down time, guys. It's 9 o'clock. Noah, you're muted.
It was fine that I was muted.
Oh, did you say something mean?
Yeah.
I was saying, I think we're being a little
It's
hard
that
on him with the
F you,
lullaby thing.
Yeah, it's fine.
He's really not that bad.
He wasn't that bad. So
He was
was
good
good.
tonight.
He might be better in the locker room than at the podium.
Little perky tonight. Yeah, that could be true. That could be true. We'll give it to him. They're in LA, or they're in California, heading to LA. Anything else on this game specifically before we maybe do a quick look ahead, and then we'll wrap it because it's 9 o'clock here. People want to probably watch a little college football. I know you guys have big plans out in California too. So, anything on this specific game that stood out to you? Any player?
Baylor Shireman hit his
Warriors,
first
man.
NBA three-pointer.
Oh,
Shout out.
Yeah,
And a
that's
pull-up jumper and 3
Suck it,
contested
Xanis.
rebounds.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
why
that's why-
John's not on the show right now.
You're right. That's why he's not on this show. He's punching air somewhere. He's pissed.
Took them too long to get him in though.
Yeah, he only played 4 minutes.
I am shocked at how bad the Warriors look, and it's getting bad. They were 7-1 right when they beat the Celtics earlier in the year, and they are 14-20 since. Does that math add up? I don't know, something like that.
Don't ask me.
And they're about to miss the playoffs, and they're getting more injured. They have guys coming off this bench who were G Leaguers not long ago, and they just got annihilated in this game. And they don't seem like they're going to make a big move here.
No.
So I don't know what's going to happen to these guys. There was heavy pressure on Curry in this game. They could do nothing to make this game easier for him. And this is really starting to get scary if you're them. It's obviously like when we compare the Celtics struggles to a team like this, doesn't look as bad right now because
Right.
we might be seeing the end of
Perspective,
this.
huh? A little perspective here.
We might be seeing the end of this run here in Golden State, which is too bad.
I think we've already
He
seen
said
the end
he
of the
said
run.
post game, this homestand feels like a make or break it point. Like he was like, I gotta be honest. Like if we don't turn it around in this stretch here, it's not gonna.
This game was over for like in like 2.5 quarters, maybe less.
Maybe less. Yeah.
You guys talked to Curry after the game. Is that accurate, or was it before the game?
After.
What was his just general like mood? Was he just kind of like?
He's great with the media. That's what I was thinking. I was scared to ask him about the Celtics defending the title because I was like, this feels a little insensitive right now. He just like had a really bad loss. But he's very thoughtful. But yeah, his mood was very much like this is like kind of like a little bit dumbfounded at where they're at and recognizing it's crunch time. Like he had this sense of urgency. He was like, we have like a week to turn this thing around was the vibe. So Well, see, I think the only other thing that stood out to me about this game is just at the end of the day, like that third quarter, they hit like 9 3-pointers. Like they used to have those periods all the time. And that's what made them this crazy team that nobody could figure out. And, you had to kind of gimmickly guard them because you didn't want to be on the other end of one of those 3-point barrages. And we just haven't seen those very often. And I think that's the big question. Like, can they just put together more of those kinds of quarters? And I know people say like you don't want to live or die by the 3, but they are gonna a little bit, because that's basketball today, and that's unfortunately like kind of the nature of this team's offense in a lot of ways. And so I don't know.
Well,
I think today the Warriors defense was, so part of it is like they just got whatever they wanted, but I don't know if there are other ways to recreate like those stretches, because they're gonna need to do that.
Not when you're starting lineups: Curry, Schroeder, Peyton, Wiggins.
No, I mean the Celtics.
Jackson Davis.
The Celtics.
Oh, Celtics. Yeah.
I don't care about the Warriors. They're done. But
yeah, I mean, for the Celtics, they do want to get their threes up again. They were up to 48 tonight. I feel like they're getting them in rhythm. We're seeing the passing again. I'm interested to see what the passing numbers were in this game. The assist rate was like 70%, Jimmy, which is way above where they usually are.
Yeah.
So the passing, ball movement in this game was great. The energy was good early. I liked Holiday on the offensive glass. I liked some of the activity with Porzingis in the post, and they just had the ball popping a little more than they have of late. And again, like I mentioned earlier, Jimmy, last 15 games, they were last place in the NBA in passes. So I think that lines up. If you're settling, if you're just taking a quick shot and you're not moving the ball around, I think that does hurt your shooting. I know Noah was asking a lot about that today, and it is tough to answer, whether you're a player or you're Joe, what's going to get that shooting going. But I do think for this team, it's moving the ball inside and out. And the Warriors are so aggressive with their helping that this was a good opportunity to get the ball moving again and find some rhythm. So I do think this can carry through this West Coast trip. I know you want to preview LA a little bit.
Just briefly.
They're going to be tough
Very
games.
briefly.
Yeah, they're going to be tough games. Clippers have a lot of games this week because of the fires and rescheduling and all that. So maybe they're more fatigued. They're missing some guys. But
it looks like they just have Chicago tonight and then Boston.
Boston's the front end of a back-to-back for them, I think. So we'll see how they manage that. I wonder how the Celtics are going to manage Al and Porzingis for that too, with that being their own back-to-back as well. So I'd probably go Horford against Clippers and Porzingis against the Lakers. And I think national TV would probably like that too for the Lakers game.
They don't want Al on national TV.
We do.
They want Chris Steffs for his sideline interviews.
Oh my God.
You guys got any big plans out in LA? What are you guys up to? What do we got reservations for out there?
I got to start looking at some stuff because we definitely have a lot of time out there. There's a great sandwich spot called Giada that I went to. I think Jared Weiss showed it to me when we were out there a couple of years ago. So one of the best sandwiches I've ever had. I think they had great cookies too, if I remember correctly. So that is something I got my eye on. But again, Jimmy, I'm kind of bummed about going out there because of the fires. Like, it's not going to be a fun time.
There's definitely that overhanging the trip, and thoughts are with everybody out there, and I'm sure we have some Celtics fans out that way too that are dealing with that. So we're definitely thinking about you guys. But Bobby and Noah will be continuing their West Coast trip to LA. We've got the Clippers. Then they've got the Lakers back to back, right? Wednesday, Thursday. And then they finish when? And
Saturday in Dallas.
Saturday in Dallas. A little NBA Finals rematch. So that'll be fun. We'll be getting you guys the whole way through. If you want to watch the rest of the Tatum press conference, it's up on the CLNS Media YouTube channel. Don't forget to hit like. Don't forget to hit subscribe. It'll get you guys notified whenever we do go live. Sometimes we just go live. It doesn't have to be after a game. If news breaks, we thought there was going to be a little, at some point the Celtics are going to make a sale here, and we're going to be breaking that. We're going to be going live.
Oh, sale. Okay, yeah.
Ownership. And we had a little scare today with the fake report that the Fenway Group was going to be one of the bidders, but it turns out they are not.
I knew that wasn't real. I woke up out here and was like, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah, it kind of came out of nowhere. And then it was one of those things where somebody reported it, and then you'd go to that report and it didn't exist. And I guess that's the internet today. And
Red Sox shut it down fast. They're like, we're not even signing Bregman and Tanner Scott. So yeah,
John Henry is not opening the checkbook for anything. Never mind in another professional sports franchise. We got to get the Red Sox figured out first. That's a podcast for another day. But want to thank Sherrod for jumping on, Bobby and Noah for coming. We'll have some late night shows coming up this week. So if you're out on the East Coast, get your naps in, stay up late with us. And if you're out on the West Coast, this one's going to be a little bit easier for you. Yes. We might have to hold off on the Tatum press conferences. We don't want people falling asleep mid-show. But once again, thanks, guys. 125-85 Celtics take down the once proud Warriors franchise. I don't think anyone's going to lose sleep over the Warriors not playing that well right now, and certainly Steve Kerr. Celtics fans have no love lost for him. So once again, Celtics with the win. We're going to head out. We'll see you guys Wednesday night in LA. Peace.
How was the flight out here for you guys? Did you kind of have any conversations, things like that, just kind of addressing the recent stretch you guys have been on?
No.
No one's sneaking a vegan brownie by me, I'll tell you that.
Okay, you know what, John? We're going to do it.
You have to feel that way too, Bobby.
I have to feel that way? Let's fly out over and make Luke your first center.
Bobby, we gave you Luke an hour early. We're not going to end this on a damn conversation about Luke